All right, welcome back one more time to North Toowoomba, Queensland, Australia, where we have reached the end of our journey. Okay, so here we are. We are at the end of the owner's review of the BMW R1300GS. It's been a long and winding road. I started at about 6,500 kilometers. We are now at 8,500. That's a long ways. At the beginning of this owner's review, I had 131 subscribers. I am now at 191, closing in on 200. Hopefully this video will be the one to get us over the hump. We've learned a fair bit about this bike on the way, I think. Over the course of those 2,000 miles, I've learned more about this bike. And now we have a couple of things to discuss. First off, a viewer pointed out the fact that I had not done a segment on the brakes. And at this point, I'm not going to do a whole video on them. I don't think they really warranted a whole video anyways. They're good brakes. They're good, solid brakes. Probably not the best in class, but they're very, very good. They're Brembo Stylimas. This bike stops quickly when you need it to. So let's see, from 100 to 0, let's see how fast we get there. Yep, pretty quickly. How about rear brake only? And it's actually a little bit of front brake because they are linked. That's pretty good too. That's actually pretty good for a rear brake. I'm going to give these brakes a 9. And I'm going to attach an asterisk to that. So yeah, the brakes are quite good overall. I'm going to give them a 9. I am going to attach an asterisk and an incomplete to them. The reason being is I watched Schaff's first impression video on this bike, and if you don't watch his channel, he lives like up in the Swiss Alps or something, and he is quite quick. He bombs up and down those hills. And in his first ride, he said he felt the brakes fading. I have never felt any fade in these brakes, but I have not ridden in that type of situation. And I was really hoping to get into some extended twisties. I had a camping trip planned earlier this year that would have at one point taken me down the Oxley Highway, which is just tens of kilometers of great twisties after great twisties. But that trip got rained out. So we ended up not doing it, and as a result, I can't say how this bike would deal with those kinds of conditions. So I would like it if they had a little bit more initial bite, but overall they're very strong. They modulate really well. I think they're really good brakes. Brembo Stylimas, how bad could they be? So yeah, a 9 with an asterisk and an incomplete. The important questions, the questions that are really relevant to this conclusion video is this bike worth the money? And would I buy this bike again? Both excellent questions. So for starters, is it worth the money? I was watching a video on the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, which everyone seems to love. I'm hoping to get a chance to ride it myself at some point. But one of the features that people love about that bike are the price, to the point where there was somebody put out some cheeky magazine article titled very provocatively, something like, "Do you own a Royal Enfield Himalayan 450? Question mark. If not, what's wrong with you? Question mark." So, you know, provocative. Yeah, but obviously just designed for clicks, because, you know, we're not all the guy who wants to be riding a Himalayan 450. I'm certainly not. You know, the Himalayan seems like a great bike, and I'm sure I'll be raving about it once I actually ride it. But, you know, if I wanted a bike that was made out of recycled beer cans and assembled by slave labor, you know, I would have bought that. But I wanted something that was, oh, by the way, just kidding, David. My buddy David is a big Royal Enfield fanboy, and he's not going to be thrilled with that statement about the recycled beer cans and slave labor, even though they're true. But moving on, the thing about bikes like that and the CF Moto and you know whatever other brands are coming out like that have a lot of features but don't have the price that a bike like this has. The thing is they're not innovating. My buddy David from Two Wheels In, he did make a good point about that when we were debating that at one point. He said it is an innovation to bring in a bike like that at that price point. And okay, that's a fair point. But in terms of technological innovation, no, they're not innovating. They're copying off of bikes like this. In the case of CF Moto and the other Chinese manufacturers who have made their living building and assembling bikes that were designed by other manufacturers, you know, there have been suggestions that they may have been a little loose with stealing intellectual property. Either way, they're not doing this. They're not coming up with these features themselves. Brands like BMW and Ducati, and this will make some people gasp, Harley Davidson, are the ones that are doing the innovating. Harley Davidson came out with the variable seat level, the BMW calls ride height assist. BMW, of course, copied that, and the radar functions that the Multistrada came out with. But they've also done a lot of their own work. They've taken this stuff and they've made it their own, and they've done it in a way that's in large part better than even the originators. The BMW ride height assist is better than what Harley Davidson came with. Shocking, right? I don't know if the radar is any better than the Multistrada. I think it's probably not, but it's just as good, except for the mirror integration of that light. Outside of that, it's every bit as good. I've been riding this system for 6 months, and it's fantastic. Then when you throw in all the others, then when you throw in the rest of the engineering that BMW had to do to release this bike, I can't imagine what their organizational chart looked like in the hierarchy of the departments who were based around releasing this version of the GS. It must have been insane. So when you look at it from the standpoint of this is one of the bikes that really leads the way when it comes to innovation, you have to factor in the amount of engineering hours and the amount of engineering money that they put in to come in with a bike like this. Royal Enfield doesn't do that. I mean, of course, they take their bikes out and they test them and they do some of their own engineering, but they're not, again, they're buying stuff off the shelf to put out a bike that has technical features. They're not coming up with this stuff themselves. And if you want the bike that does that stuff, because you're like me and you want a certain amount of luxury and an engine with certain characteristics, because I definitely don't want to be riding a 450. It's just not my ride. Then if you want that overall premium feel to a motorcycle, well, you're going to be paying premium prices. That's just the way it is. And to that end, I think this bike is worth the money. And, you know, you can get into the notion of diminishing returns for what you're getting, but no, I still think that this bike is absolutely worth what it costs. People will say, yeah, you can get 5 Royal Enfields for this. Yeah, but I can also buy 30 cases of beer and then recycle the cans and make one myself. And that bike is never going to give me the feeling that this bike does. I'm sorry, Royal Enfield fans. If it's the bike for you, I'm happy it's there for you to buy, but it's not one that I'm interested in. There's a great French saying that I just learned. I was watching a review of the new Multistrada, as a matter of fact, by a gentleman whose YouTube channel is called Rocket Man. Pretty good channel, you should check it out. And when talking about the cost of the Multistrada, he invoked this French saying, which is, it's only expensive to the poor. Or it's only expensive if you're poor, or something like that. Whatever it is, man, it doesn't get more French than that, does it? I mean, that is as elitist a saying as you're ever going to hear, I reckon. If you can come up with some more examples of great elitist French sayings, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Same in French, too. I like that. But, you know, that's the thing. You want to practice fiscal responsibility, but I can afford this bike. You know, I'm 55 years old. I've been around for a minute. I am enjoying the benefit of compounding interest. In terms of it being worth the money, I strongly believe that this bike is worth the money. You'll notice I did not complain about how much this bike costs in my things I don't like about the BMW R1300GS video. If I had a problem with it, believe me, I would have let you know. Or more likely, I just wouldn't have bought this bike. The obvious follow-up question, would I buy it again? And the answer is almost certainly yes. There has been one particular monkey thrown into the wrench. Longtime viewers of the channel know that one of the reasons I went with BMW is because my local BMW is a 4-minute walk from my house. Well, that is no longer the case. As of July 7th, they are ceasing, that dealership, Elite Motorcycles, is ceasing to be a BMW dealer. The reason why is the Honda dealer across town closed down, and Elite put in a bid to be the new Honda dealer in this area, and they got it. And a manufacturer, one of the other manufacturers that they're the dealership for, had to go, and that manufacturer was BMW. And they'll definitely make more selling Hondas than they would BMWs. It's a shame, because there's a big BMW community in this area, and they are going to lose out on a lot of money from servicing BMWs. They didn't sell a ton. I know they were right around their quota. So they'll make more selling Hondas. I don't know if they'll make more servicing Hondas, though. And so it seems a little penny wise and pound foolish, but hey, who am I to judge? So, what does that mean for me? It means I'm going to have to go to Brisbane to get this bike serviced, and that kind of sucks. That puts it into the same range of how far I would have to go to get a Ducati serviced if I bought a Ducati. And by the way, to anybody who thinks that my view of this bike is based on me being a BMW fanboy, it's not. And I'll tell you how you can tell. By the fact that I am a Ducati fanboy, not a BMW fanboy. I love everything about Ducati. I love every Ducati made. I want to ride every single one. The whole reason for this channel, I want to build it up and make it really successful so I can build a relationship with Ducati and get to go on some of those rides that you see people going on where, you know, they're going to some really nice exotic location and premiering and, you know, getting a ride on brand new models that are just being released. I want to be the guy riding the brand new Multistrada. I want to be the guy riding the brand new Panigale. I love Ducatis. I also love BMWs, but not the same way. You know, it's a feel thing with Ducati. This bike is the most practical and the most sensible for me, and that's why I went with it. You know? But my heart belongs to Ducati. It really does. I will own one. Probably a V2 Panigale. I don't know how long that's going to be because I am renovating a money pit of a Queenslander. Anyways, would I buy this bike again, even having to go farther now to get it serviced? And the answer is yes. Probably. I'd say about 85%. And the reason is the same as it was before. It gives me what I need from a sporty perspective. You know, I can still come out to the Twisties and have almost as much fun as I would have on a Pikes Peak Ducati. But I think it's probably better for touring. I think it's probably a wash around town. I think they're actually both really good bikes for that. Even though you might look a little silly riding a Pikes Peak Ducati Multistrada to your local Woolworths to get milk or eggs or something. But this has an extra level of comfort that the Ducati comes very close to but doesn't have. A lot of it's because of this windscreen. The windscreen is basically perfect engineering. Part of it is having nice little touches like this compartment here, which I think is great. It's the only adventure bike that my phone really fits into the compartment on. I just learned that you can adjust the cruise control by 10 kph at a time instead of just 1. And, you know, just another awesome, well thought out feature. Would I buy it again? Yeah, probably. I think it's very likely that I would buy it again if I hadn't already bought it. By the way, you're going to want to tune into my next video. That one's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be me attempting to install the Denali split sound bomb. I am terrible at stuff like that. I lose instructions, I misplace fasteners, I get impatient, I get frustrated, I get angry. I'm just not good at it. I don't have the temperament. So tune in for that one because you might see a meltdown. Esk is such a pretty little town to roll into. I wonder how many people climb up those hills there. I definitely would if I lived here. If I lived here, I would be like, they are taunting me with hills, and I am going to climb them. My wife would be like, again? Really? I wanted you to paint today. Oh, Pan America. Fancy paint job. Neat. Okay. Another order of chips successfully inhaled. Back on the road. Where were we? Yeah, I think that about wraps it up. I think this bike even as expensive as it is still a good value if this is what you're looking for. If you're looking for a luxurious bike that carries a lot of value, if you're looking for a bike that does it all and does it really well, honestly, I think it's the best bike in the world. Put any bike up against it that you want. This bike is going to do well. Sure, there's things that something like the S or M1000 XR does a little bit better. Of course, sport bikes are going to do sport bike things better, but good luck touring on them. Good luck touring on that XR. The Multistradas, they're all pretty close. The other big premium adventure bikes are all pretty close, but I bought this one for a reason. You know, and the reason is that it's an amazing, amazing bike that I love riding. I love getting out and riding this bike. It's so much fun. It's so much fun, and yet it's still so practical in so many ways. It's the best bike there is. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm really genuinely interested. Did you enjoy this series? Should I do other series of videos, or should I try and keep it to one video when I do things? Whatever. I'm on my way home from Esk, and that means it's time to find the Twisties. If Mr. P Plater gets out of my way. What are you doing? What are you doing? That's a skinny driveway. All right, let's go find them Twisties. All right, folks, that's it. Great handling, great engine, great suspension, really good brakes, good value for the money in spite of the high price tag. Great features, incredibly versatile. Are you pulling over for me? Thank you. Incredibly versatile, incredibly comfortable, good at just about everything. It's not a sports bike in the Twisties, but it's as good as you're going to come in this type of comfort. All right, folks, that's it for this video, and that's a wrap on the owner's review video series of the BMW R1300GS. For my money, the best bike in the world. If you don't believe me, go to your local BMW dealer and try one out for 45 minutes or an hour. Even the BMW haters will come away thinking, boy, that's a good bike. All right, folks, as always, thanks so much for coming along for the ride. Get home safe, and I hope to see you next time when I attempt to install the Denali split sound bomb. That should be good. All right, people, see ya. Going off-road. Doing the GS thing. Yeah.